Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavad-gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Chapter 18, Text 75, spoken by Sanjay. Yasa prasadat shrutavan etad guhyam aham param yogam yogeshwarat Krsna sakshat katayata swayam. By the mercy of Vyasa, I have heard these most confidential talks directly from the master of all mysticism, Krishna, who was speaking personally to Arjuna. Purport. Vyasa was the spiritual master of Sanjay, and Sanjay admits that it was by Vyasa's mercy that he could understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This means that one has to understand Krishna not directly but through the medium of the spiritual master. The spiritual master is the transparent medium, although it is true that the experience is still direct. This is the mystery of the disciplic succession. When the spiritual master is bona fide, then one can hear Bhagavad-gita directly, as Arjuna heard it. There are many mystics and yogis all over the world, but Krishna is the master of all yoga systems. Krishna's instruction is explicitly stated in Bhagavad-gita, surrender unto Krishna. One who does so is the topmost yogi. This is confirmed in the last verse of the 6th chapter, Yoginam api sarvesham. Narada is the direct disciple of Krishna and the spiritual master of Vyasa. Therefore, Vyasa is as bona fide as Arjuna because he comes in the disciplic succession, and Sanjay is the direct disciple of Vyasa. Therefore, by the grace of Vyasa, Sanjay's senses were purified, and he could see and hear Krishna directly. One who directly hears Krishna can understand this confidential knowledge. If one does not come to the disciplic succession, he cannot hear Krishna. Therefore, his knowledge is always imperfect, at least as far as understanding Bhagavad-gita is concerned. In Bhagavad-gita, all the yoga systems, karma yoga, jnana yoga, and bhakti yoga are explained. Krishna is the master of all such mysticism. It is to be understood, however, that as Arjuna was fortunate enough to understand Krishna directly, so by the grace of Vyasa, Sanjay was also able to hear Krishna directly. Actually, there is no difference between hearing directly from Krishna and hearing directly from Krishna via a bona fide spiritual master like Vyasa. The spiritual master is the representative of Vyasadeva also. Therefore, according to the Vedic system, on the birthday of the spiritual master, the disciples conduct a ceremony called Vyasa Puja. Srila Prabhupada, more than any Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharya, based his preaching on Bhagavad-gita. Of course, all Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, all the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are based on Bhagavad-gita. We don't find in Chaitanya Charitamrita that Bhagavad-gita is quoted very much. Srimad Bhagavatam is quoted much more. But then the Bhagavatam, that is also based on Bhagavad-gita, where Bhagavad-gita ends, Sarvadhaman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja. Give up all varieties of dharma. Take shelter in me only, Lord Krishna says. And Srimad Bhagavatam begins with the same thing, dharma kaitava projita atra. That herein all cheating dharmas are fully rejected. So, Bhagavad-gita is the basic knowledge of spiritual life. Chaitanya Charitamrita is the highest teaching. Srila Prabhupada gave us Bhagavad-gita, he gave us Srimad Bhagavatam, he gave us Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nectar of Devotion, and so many other books. These 4 basic books. But in his day-to-day preaching to the masses, he would mostly speak on Bhagavad-gita. This is the basic philosophy which Srila Prabhupada wanted to communicate, because the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are the highest teachings. That, of course, everyone will say our teaching is the highest, ours is the best. But if we examine impartially, then we'll find Chaitanya Daya Kata Karaha Vichar Vichar Korele Chitte Pabe Chavatka. If we examine objectively what is the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then we will be astonished that how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given that the love of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is unimaginable to even most so-called religionists, even people who say but nowadays religion more and more in the Western world, there's no God there. It's just something you feel. They're not religion, spiritual. I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious. This is, in America, you'll find many people say, I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious. I don't belong to any denomination, I don't belong to any church, I don't have any fixed teaching, I just feel spiritual. This is nonsense. So, people have not, even those who say they believe in God, well, what did Srila Prabhupada, sometimes they'd ask this, when Prabhupada arrived in London for the first time, they asked him, what have you come? Why have you come here? Challenging me. Prabhupada answered, to teach what you have forgotten, God. So people, they'll say God, which as Prabhupada would often, when people would ask, what is God? Prabhupada would say, what is the dictionary definition? The Supreme Being. So Srila Prabhupada presented the Supreme Being, that is Krishna, but the whole concept of love of Krishna is far, far above that of the order supplier. Give us this day our daily bread. The idea that we are meant for sense gratification and God is powerful, so we'll flatter him a bit, make him feel good, and then he can give us more sense gratification very easily. So this idea that God is someone who should fulfill our desires, which is all the religions of the world, so-called religions. It's all dharma, kaitava, cheating religion. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to teach, which even those who are not on the platform of cheating religion, that means the Vaishnava Sampradaya, that which they cannot imagine. Anarpita chiring chirat karunyavatirno kalo samabhyatavana tajvala rasa svabhakti shriyam hari puruta sundara duty kadamba sandipita sada hridya kandare spuratu va shachinandana. Is Sachinandana. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give that which is not given before, not even imagined before. In the whole day of Brahma, no one can even imagine the level of love of God. People speak of love of God, but what is love of God? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu demonstrated that. No one had any idea of the ecstasy of love of Krishna that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to demonstrate and to give. And Srila Prabhupada came to give that also, the same thing, in pursuance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's desire. Pritivite ache jatanagaradigram sabatra pracha hoibe morana. That Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this quintessential essence, the topmost teachings, which could be actually, who is fit to understand that? But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted this spread all over the world through the medium of Sankirtan, chanting the names of Krishna. Now, Srila Prabhupada, I was saying, he came to give this, but he mostly preached on Bhagavad-gita philosophy. Mostly, you are not the body. The first teaching of Bhagavad-gita. You are not the body. The body is destructible. This is Krishna's first teaching to Arjuna. The body is destructible, not only destructible, but must be destroyed. The body will not stay. But we are eternal. This basic teaching, which in the Western countries people are ignorant of this. And in India, where people theoretically understand this, or accept it, but actually they don't understand. Otherwise, if we actually understood it, then we wouldn't waste our time buying nail polish and putting it on our nails and doing silly things like that. We wouldn't waste our time decorating the body, or trying to make the body beautiful or comfortable. But we are understanding that we are eternal, and the human life is meant for getting free from the cycle of birth and death, which is the situation of intense suffering. We're so dull-headed, we don't even realize how much we're suffering. And we're so dull-headed that even we might be born into a culture where we're raised with the idea that we are taking birth after birth after birth, but we're so foolish that we don't consider the implications of that. For some years I was living in Thailand, where the vast majority of the population is superficially Buddhist. Although the actual way of life, Thailand is famous as one of the most hedonistic countries in the world. So I asked one lady there once that, I see in Thailand everyone's eating pork. Like in Denmark also, it's popular, Danish bacon. And at least in 2 towns of Denmark, I remember seeing big statues of pigs in the middle of the city. It's pig country, so you have something in common with Thailand there. So they're very fond of eating pork. They also eat, on occasion they eat snakes and rats and grasshoppers is popular, and all kinds of things like that. It's influenced by Chinese culture. They eat everything. So I asked one day, you're eating pig. So you're going to become a pig in your next life. I said, yeah. And I said, well, aren't you concerned about it? No, I said, no, it'll be fun also. Sanuk. The Thai word is sanuk. It means pleasure. So we'll have fun as pigs also. So simply, the point I'm making here is that simply to theoretically understand that we are not the body is temporary, that in itself is not realization. One has to associate with devotees. In this purport, Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing the necessity to hear from the parampara. There are so many editions of Bhagavad-gita in India and all over the world. So many people are reading, and no one, as Prabhupada pointed out in the beginning and in the preface to his Bhagavad-gita as it is, he points out that why am I making another edition of Bhagavad-gita when there are so many already? And Prabhupada said because no one understands. None of them are Bhagavad-gita. They're presenting Bhagavad-gita according to the misunderstandings of the persons who are presenting this. So one has to be linked with Krishna, as Sanjay was linked through Vyasa. Vyasa is the incarnation of Krishna. He has come to give the Vedic knowledge which is all meant for understanding Krishna. Vedaisha, as Lord Krishna states here in Bhagavad-gita, Vedaisha sarvaraham eva vedyaha. The whole purpose of the Vedas is to understand Krishna. But we find not so much now. There aren't so many Vedic scholars left in India. There are plenty of software engineers, and the Brahmins, they used to use their brains for studying the Vedas. Now they use their brains for writing software programs. There used to be so many Vedic scholars, but they study all the Vedas and not understand that it's meant for understanding Krishna, which is the whole point. And Srila Prabhupada sometimes gives the example that someone, after reading the whole Ramayana, they say that, who is Sita the father of? It's just a stupid question, because how is Sita the father of anyone? She is the mother of Lava and Kush, but not the father of anyone. So it's just like you read it, but you just missed the whole thing. Your reading it's just the words are going, but they didn't contact with any intelligence. So it's like that. So many people can understand, they read Bhagavad-gita, or actually now, who reads Bhagavad-gita? If you find a so-called pious Hindu, they maybe know 2 or 3 verses they can say, yes, I yada hi dharmasya, and that's about it. 2 shlokas from Bhagavad-gita. Yes, I also know Bhagavad-gita. But only a vague idea which they pick up from watching TV or something, Mahabharata on TV or some movie or something where they show someone coming back in another life. But no serious study. And what to speak of in the Western countries, where we were just discussing that even here, at least until recently, there was at least people had some idea of Kaitava dharma, cheating religion, or Christian religion, some idea, some morality, some idea of God. Not much idea, but at least some idea. But even that's gone, practically. So Srila Prabhupada, he came to give the highest teachings, but he introduced that through Bhagavad-gita, because you have to start somewhere. And if we are to give the highest teachings in any field, we have to give the basic teachings first. You can't take a 5-year-old child and start to teach them calculus. You have to teach them, first of all, 1 + 1 equals, take one brick, toy brick, another one, 1 + 1 equals 2 + 2 equals 4. And then after 10 years or something, you can teach them. You can gradually bring them up to the level of, some of them, not all, studying calculus. You send the child to school not exactly to play with toy bricks, but with the idea that after several years of education, you'll become an engineer or a doctor or computer operator. That education is required for that. It's not just for playing with toy bricks, but you have to start somewhere. So in the same way, Srila Prabhupada came to bring the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What is the Baraja Juvati Bhavera Bhakati Shakati Hoito Ka, except Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was capable of teaching it's not a matter of teaching, but imparting the love of Krishna that the gopis of Vrindavan, they experience. Swarasiki Siddhi Ramya Kachid Upasana Vrajavadhu Vargena Ya Kalpita. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his teaching is that the highest or the best mode of worship of Krishna, Vrajesha Tanaya, the son of the king of Vrindavan, Sarananda Maharaj, is that which is demonstrated by the gopis. But Prabhupada is teaching most of his Bhagavad-gita. Let's start with the beginning. Let's understand this clearly. The first point, we are not the body, we are eternal. So the first point, human life then is meant for God realization. We have this opportunity after many births. This is spoken by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad-gita. The opportunity of human life. Labdva sudurlabham idam bahusam bhavante manusham arthakam anityam apihadhira turnam yatetana patanam rityayava nishriyasai vishaya khalu sarvata syat. That we are now in the human form of life. It is not a common opportunity. It is a rare opportunity. It doesn't last long. We get it, it's there, it's gone. We think, so we see someone 90 years old, we think, oh, very old. Oh, what very old? 90 years, what's that? In Lord Brahma sneezes, that's a few hundred years of our time. He does sneeze also, because that's how the Varaha avatar came from, Lord Brahma's sneezing. So 90 years, that's not much time. But we think, oh, very old man, 90 years old. Life is short. And it comes and it goes, just like we can see Lalita Nath Prabhu and ask, how old are you? 49. So where were you 59 years ago? I often ask this. Well, I didn't exist, some people say. Well, it often bewilders people when we ask this question. And where will you be in 49 years from now? Probably not in that body. Most bodies don't last until 98. A few, very few. So it's a blip in time. Very short time. But now we've got it. And this is the opportunity. When we have this human birth, it is the opportunity to solve all problems forever. Now, there are so many advertisements, they're advertising different products. That your life can be improved by purchasing Lux soap, for instance, among so many other things. You can solve the problem of having an ugly face by using Lux soap, and then you'll look as pretty as the girl on the packet. Not very likely. Anyway, they're offering all these things can improve your life. But the Vedic rishis, they teach us that the problem is not having an ugly face. The problem is having a face at all. The problem is having a body. All the bodies are simply causes of suffering. Due to foolishness, we consider the body as a vehicle for our happiness, whereas actually it's a vehicle for our suffering. So in human life we can understand this. But human life is very rare, so we should take the opportunity. We should consider that I have to die soon, so let me do whatever is required in this life so I don't have to get born again. And if anyone asks, well, I could enjoy myself. And Lord Krishna says, Vishaya khalu sarvata syat. The opportunity for sense enjoyment is there in every birth, but only in human birth is the opportunity there for self-realization. So this is the intelligence or the determination we should have on understanding that I am not the body. The body is temporary. I am eternal. And this human life, if we analyze, there are Jalajana Valakshani Sthavara Laksha Vimshati. In Padma Purana is analyzed. There are different species. There are 900,000 in the water. There are 2 million kinds of species of non-moving. That includes plants and rocks. So like this, there are so many other species, but only human life affords the opportunity for self-realization. Therefore, if one is actually intelligent, one should seek out the question, ask the questions which lead to the proper answers. The whole human civilization is based on asking the wrong question. What is it? How can we enjoy our senses more? The whole civilization based on trying to make facilities to make the body comfortable and the body opportunity, more and more opportunity for sense enjoyment. But this, contrary to our expectations, is the cause of our entanglement and suffering. Therefore, an intelligent person, seeing this, as Lord Krishna says in everything is there in Bhagavad-gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, that yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkha yona evati adyantalanta kauntaya nateshu ramate buddha. This excellent advice. If human society could just understand this, the whole misdirection of human society can be rectified simply by understanding this one verse. That the interaction of the senses with their sense objects is not a cause of happiness, but a cause of distress. Beginning, middle and end. You may say, well, I can enjoy now. No, even in the beginning, it's a good. Therefore, an intelligent person does not take part in that. Just this one verse can revolutionize the whole of human society. So Srila Prabhupada, he writes here in this purport, he is a representative of Vyasa. He is fully self-realized. He's come with the mission of all the Parampara Acharyas to deliver this knowledge of Krishna and Krishna consciousness to human society. He did so by teaching this basic knowledge of Bhagavad-gita, which if applied in human society, will, as the Bhagavatam predicts, tadvag visargo janataga viplava. This viplava, can create a spiritual revolution in the misdirected lives of the sinful population. This knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam, to deliver this knowledge of Krishna and Krishna consciousness to human society. He did so by teaching this basic knowledge of Bhagavad-gita, which if applied in human society, will, as the Bhagavatam predicts, tadvag visargo janataga viplava. This viplava, can create a spiritual revolution in the misdirected lives of the sinful population. This knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad-gita. Now many people think Bhagavad-gita, it's some philosophy book or some mystical book or something very difficult to understand. But Srila Prabhupada taught Bhagavad-gita as practical philosophy. Philosophy has no meaning if it's just philosophy. You study in the university or something, or philosophy is something people talk at in bars or parties when they get drunk. That's what people think philosophy is. It's some prattle that comes out of your mouth when you're drunk. So, Srila and Bhagavad-gita. Now many people think Bhagavad-gita, it's some philosophy book or some mystical book or something very difficult to understand. But Srila Prabhupada taught Bhagavad-gita as practical philosophy. Philosophy has no meaning if it's just philosophy. You study in the university or something, or philosophy is something people talk at in bars or parties when they get drunk. That's what people think philosophy is. It's some prattle that comes out of your mouth when you're drunk. So, Srila Prabhupada, he presented Bhagavad-gita's practical philosophy. Lord Krishna spoke Bhagavad-gita to Arjuna. Why? Not just you're not quite ready for fighting. I tell you what, why don't we talk some philosophy? Okay. It wasn't like that. Arjuna had, he was in a specific dilemma. What to do? He couldn't, he was in a typical situation that everyone in the material world finds themselves in, that there are various choices about what to do and all of them look bad. That we find that there's, often the material life arranges itself, or material situations, they come about that whatever we do, we can't see any good results. We can't find any way forward. Therefore people, they commit suicide, or they take shelter of intoxication, so-called shelter of intoxication. Or people, in the words of the great philosopher of the modern age, John Lennon, he said that living is easy with eyes closed. So people walk around with their minds closed. People, they don't even think that I have to die. People, and if you remind them, they become upset. Why are you talking about that? Enjoy ourselves now. If you push the point, they become upset. Because they want to live in, they know they're living in an illusion, but if they have to actually think more deeply than where does my next drink of beer come from, then it disturbs. To think about reality is too disturbing. So philosophy, it's meant, as Srila Prabhupada pointed out again and again, it's meant for solving all the problems of life. But we like to be like the goats. Prabhupada gave this example. The goats, they're taken for slaughter, and they can see in front of them, one after another is being slaughtered. So, and they can't run away. So what do? They have sex. Enjoy while you can. That's the modern society's goat philosophy. Enjoy while you can. So, more intelligent is to think, is there any way out? Is there any solution? Is there any way to go? We can understand from the Vedic literature that not only are we suffering in this life, but we have to suffer birth after birth. As long as we don't seek a solution to repeated birth and death. The Bhagavad-gita is the practical philosophy. Arjuna was given practical understanding that he could apply in his life. Krishna could have just told Arjuna that you just fight, that's all. That look, I'm God, you're my servant, I'm telling you to fight, do it. But he didn't. He explained to him all the implications and ramifications of fighting and not fighting. He gave him the knowledge by which he could make an intelligent decision to fight. For Arjuna, the fighting meant acting in the manner that Lord Krishna wanted him to act in. It was a practical activity for the pleasure of Krishna. So this philosophy of Bhagavad-gita, it's not armchair philosophy. It's not meant for simply sitting. Now we're sitting and talking. But this talking, it's meant for guiding our lives. What will we do after? Sometimes people come to me after and they say, oh, that was a nice class, they say to me. So we'll know if it's a nice class in what you do afterwards. If it was actually an effective class, then there should be some change. It shouldn't be just that either we're already doing the right things and we should do them in a better way or more enthusiastically, or we should rectify. If actually the class, if we were actually speaking in the line of Vyasa, actually speaking in the line of Prabhupada, then that should be not just nice. Very nice, I heard, very nice, very nice. It's not meant to be like some TV program. You watch and what's on the different channels. So, what can I enjoy? So, sannyasi is coming. Oh, he gives very nice class. I'll go and listen. Nice stories. But it's not meant for entertainment. It's meant for giving guidance, purifying what is that guidance? Again, it's not just you do, not just you have to believe in the Bible and do whatever it says. Not like that. But for purifying the intelligence so that we can understand how to act in a manner that is actually in our own real self-interest, which means to act in a manner that is pleasing to Krishna. So this is the way that Krishna instructed Arjuna. He gave him the knowledge, and not just the knowledge, but the ability to apply that. He gave him the knowledge of what his constitutional position is, and how to apply that practically. Just like we were talking about calculus. It's theoretic. You learn it theoretically, but it has practical applications. How to practically apply. One is trained as an engineer. So in engineering, then you have to apply. You have to be able to understand calculus and so many other things. To how to apply that theoretical knowledge in the practical sphere, in construction or whatever kind of engineering you're doing, so that you build a bridge so that it doesn't break. You have to make it something practical. So knowledge that can actually be, its usefulness can be seen in practical application. And Srila Prabhupada was a practical person. How to live Bhagavad-gita, how to be a perfect devotee. He taught that by everything he did. And he constantly spoke Bhagavad-gita philosophy so that his disciples and everyone else could understand. He only spoke the message of Bhagavad-gita, the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and lived that so that people can see what does it mean to live in Krishna consciousness. It's not something simply theoretical, but one can live in this world, and just like Arjuna did, one can follow Lord Krishna's instruction, practically apply that in our life. Now, sometimes there's criticism of Bhagavad-gita is a book of fighting. It encourages violence. Well, actually that's true. Krishna did encourage Arjuna to fight, but it's never been traditionally understood as a book which is, its message is inciting everyone to fight, but inciting to action, to properly directed action, which in Arjuna's case, fighting is maybe the most extreme activity that anyone can do. So it's an extreme example, but that's for everyone. This Bhagavad-gita is for everyone. How to live in this world, how to act in this world. We cannot stop acting. What is that? Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtatya karma krit. To Arjuna's idea that I should stop work, I should stop acting because everything that we do simply leads to distress. But Lord Krishna said, no, you can't stop acting even for a moment, but learn how to act in a manner that is actually auspicious, not the cause of distress. So that is the teaching of Bhagavad-gita, which Srila Prabhupada taught how to practically apply that in our lives, and how it can be practically applied to the whole human situation, the whole human society. In a few verses, the division of human society, Chaturvarnyam Maya Shrishtam, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Of course this is discussed in much more detail elsewhere in the Vedic literature. Lord Krishna mentions it here in Bhagavad-gita, but Srila Prabhupada took that clue from Bhagavad-gita to propose that the whole human society is in need of a total overhaul. It's totally misguided, misdirected. So the aim of life should be Nandana Bhagavad Bhakto. Everyone should live their life in such a way that they can think of Krishna. And the means to do that, organize society in a way that is conducive for Krishna consciousness to be practiced. So Srila Prabhupada was a practical philosopher, a practical teacher of Bhagavad-gita. And now several millions of this Bhagavad-gita, as it is, have been distributed all over the world. And we should go on distributing these books and teaching people what message we have to give to the world. This Krishna conscious movement, it's not meant to be just another humdrum religious society, but it is meant to be, it is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's gift for re-spiritualizing the whole human society, which has forgotten Krishna. So, you all have a responsibility here, living in this country. Some of you, it appears, were not born here, but anyway, somehow or other, by Krishna's arrangement, you're here now. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Jare dekho tare kaha Krishna upadesh, amar agyai guru hoya tara edesh. Wherever you go, wherever you meet, instruct them in the science of Krishna, Bhagavad-gita as it is. In this way become a guru and deliver this land. So, here's one land. Denmark. You have somehow or other you're all born in this land, or you're living here and you have the great good fortune to realize that you're not Danish by the grace of Srila Prabhupada. He came to teach us that we're not Danish, we're not American, we're not Chinese, we're all eternal spirit, soul, part and parcel of Krishna. And this message is to be spread everywhere, preached everywhere, established everywhere. So, I'm only here for one night, and if I have anything to say to you, I would like to request all of you to push on Srila Prabhupada's mission very strongly here in Denmark. People are suffering for lack of Krishna consciousness. That fact has not changed. That without Krishna consciousness, people simply suffer. In the summer, it looks quite nice. I was here in the winter, it's not so nice in the winter. But it's quite pleasant. Weather, people in Denmark, their general behavior is quite gentle and nice, except when they get drunk. Most of the time they're quite nice people. So it may seem everything is very nice, but we should know that it's not nice. People are suffering, and they'll suffer more for all their sinful activities, and they'll suffer for not knowing Krishna. So it is the duty of devotees, having attained this knowledge, not just way of life, not just knowledge, but this whole way of life, the practical application of this knowledge, to strive very seriously to distribute this knowledge and establish this knowledge. We should all do whatever we can, as long as we can, because we won't be here very long. But within this short time we have to finish our entanglement in the material world and act for the benefit of others. By acting for the benefit of others, by preaching Krishna consciousness, then we also become purified, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased by that. So that's it in a nutshell. I told Amita Prabhu I'd leave time for questions, so please ask whatever you want to ask. Yeah.
I was just wondering if you can, this preaching in where one is born, this probably this life. But you yourself, did you Can you?
Why am I not preaching in England where I was born? Is that the question?
Something if you can explain the benefits of not doing.
It might seem I'm a hypocrite now because I said you were born here and well, Krishna has different plans for everyone. Srila Prabhupada also in 1971 wrote that he wanted 500 Western devotees in India. So about 1977 I was considering that there are not many devotees in India and Srila Prabhupada wanted so many Western devotees there. So I went there. So Krishna has different plans for different people. But as you happen to be preaching here, I'm encouraging you to do so. It seems that Krishna had his plan to take me to India.
But because sometimes when I was in America for a couple of years and one tends to not be so entangled in the molds of nature. I don't know, but when one is here, then
you feel Danish when you're here.
More easily, I think.
There's a kind of detachment in being in a different culture because you can't relate to it fully. Well, there are pros and cons. Being here means you can also relate to the people. You can understand their mentality also better. There are pros and cons. Anyway, you're here, you've been here most of your life. So it looks like Krishna's plan for you is here. You can just remember every day, I am not Danish. I belong to Krishna.
You said something about cheating religion.
Yeah.
Can you explain that?
What is cheating religion? Cheating religion is religion conceived of with any purpose other than to surrender to Krishna, understanding Him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and acting for Krishna's pleasure. This Atendriya Priti Vancha Tare Bale Kam Krishnendriya Priti Vancha Dhare Premanam. This is the essence of everything, and of the absolute truth is summarized here. Or what is dharma is summarized here. Generally we think dharma means looking after our parents and grihastha dharma, but the Savaipong Sam Paro dharma, the supreme dharma, yato bhakti adhoksaja, is that like by bhakti to adhoksaja. Adhoksaja is a name for Krishna, which means he who is beyond the purview of the mundane senses or beyond the purview of the mundane outlook on life. Krishna is beyond our mundane way of thinking. So, Atendriya Priti, Ichha, the desire to satisfy our own senses, that is called Kam, or mundane lust. And the desire to satisfy Krishna, that is called Prema. So mostly all the religions, so-called religions, they are simply teaching that you do some so-called religion and you get the blessings of God to enjoy yourself better. Or to remove the obstacle that I have this disease, I don't know what to do, I tried so many doctors, okay, last hope, go and pray. So, but dharmasya hi apavargyasya. Dharma is meant for liberation from this material entanglement, not entanglement within it. So, the classic definition of kaitava dharma or cheating religion is dharma, artha, kama, moksha, which is so much praised within the Shastra, but it only gives us piety to follow dharma, just like grihastha dharma, stri dharma, brahmana dharma. But that is all in relation to the body. Brahmana, he may be studying Shastra, but if he thinks I'm a Brahmana, then he's in Maya, because he's not. He's spirit soul, part and parcel of Krishna. Then artha, simply making some money. Dharma, artha, kama, enjoy. Even the kama mentioned here, dharma, artha, kama. The kama means to indulge the senses according to dharma. But that is also against our real self-interest. And then even moksha. Moksha is the worst. We think that's the best. It's the worst. The idea of getting moksha or liberation without surrendering to Krishna. It's like that. It's like the idea of being spiritual but not religious. So it's avoidance of all of these are meant for avoiding Krishna. So real dharma, Lord Krishna indicates, Sarva dhamman parittajam mamekam sharanam. You please study Srila Prabhupada's books. You will get the clear understanding of what is dharma, what is our duty in life from studying Prabhupada's books. Bhagavad-gita. Do you have this Bhagavad-gita? Have you read it all?
Yes.
You have read it? Front to back. You haven't read Srimad Bhagavatam. Next is Srimad Bhagavatam. One set.
When you raised this issue of reading, I was actually thinking, it's all about living and how to perform your duties. That's what Bhagavad-gita is.
Yes, but what is our duty?
My question
That's the point. Everyone in India will say, yes, duty.
No,
but my question is, what is our duty? Our ultimate duty is toward Krishna.
No, my question is that Bhagavad-gita is the science of living, ideal. What is the ideal way of living?
Yeah, but what is that ideal?
My question is that if
Can you say, what is that ideal?
Ideal is to follow Bhagavad-gita.
Yeah, but what does it mean to follow Bhagavad-gita?
Each and every phrase of Bhagavad-gita.
But what is the essence? Where are we going to? Follow means we're going somewhere. Where are we going?
Work without sensual attachments.
No, you missed it. You didn't get the point. Like most people, you read Bhagavad-gita, but you finished up asking, who is Sita the father of?
No, because I can't be...
Lord Krishna summarizes or gives the essence of Bhagavad-gita, the last teaching, Manmana bhavavat bhakto madhyaji mam namaskaru mame vaishasi satyam te pratijani prayosime. Always think of me, Lord Krishna says. Become my devotee. Worship me, bow down to me. In this way you will come to me. Sarva dhamman parittajam mamekam sharanam vraja. Giving up all other ideas of dharma, you simply surrender to me. This is Bhagavad-gita. Simply to work and not be attached. What is that? That's better than working and being attached. But there's nothing positive. There's no real direction. Like I say, most Indians who are a little bit pious, they know one or two shlokas. Yada yada hi dharmasya. So yours is kamani vadikalaste mafaleshu kadachana. But that's only in the beginning of Bhagavad-gita. That's a preliminary instruction. That you work but don't be attached to the fruit. But that fruit, that should be offered in bhakti to Krishna. As Lord Krishna says later in Bhagavad-gita. Literally. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yume bhaktya pradachit. Tadaham bhakti prahritam ashnami prahitam. That fruit, leaf, flower, water should be offered to Krishna in bhakti. So all the Bhagavad-gita, all the Shastra is meant to teach us what is bhakti to Krishna. Vedaishta savya hamayeva vedyaha. All the Vedas, Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad-gita, are meant for understanding me. But even this word bhakti, people don't know what it means. They'll say bhakti. Everyone in India knows the word bhakti. But what is the actual import? What they call bhakti is actually cheating religion. What they imagine is bhakti. To understand what is bhakti, as Prabhupada has elaborated here in his purport, we have to hear in the bona fide parampara of pure devotees. Otherwise we think bhakti means serving our family, serving our country, serving our dog and cat. But bhakti means yato bhaktir adhoksajit, that understanding who is Krishna. That Krishna is not an ordinary person. He has nothing to do with, he is above and beyond this material world, even though he appears within it. And we are also above and beyond this material world, even though we appear within it. We are eternally the servants of Krishna. What are the implications of that? What does it mean to serve Krishna? So this is not, like I said, it's not, you can go to the kindergarten and put two bricks together and learn 1 + 1 = 2. But we have to learn mathematics. It may take some years. Definitely it will take years. We have to gradually be trained in that. So everyone requires training to understand what is the purpose of life and how to attain it. So I'm asking you, please read Srila Prabhupada's books. That will give you that clear understanding. And then we also have to take practical guidance in how to act on it. It's a big project, getting free from birth and death. You see, cheating religion means people take something like, we work and we're not attached, and they think that's it. And then they just go on in a materialistic, pious way of life. But actually, what is the purpose of life? To get free from sense enjoyment. They don't get free from sense enjoyment. We'll find so many people saying that, yes, we should work in an unattached way, but they don't even know what the basic principles of religion, of genuine religion are. What are the Chatur Stamba, what are the 4 legs of religion? Most people, they don't know. This mercifulness, austerity, cleanliness and truthfulness, which are destroyed by illicit sex, intoxication, gambling, meat eating. People don't know these things. India is very confused. Everyone's eating meat and there's so many abortion clinics. Everyone drinks tea and coffee, which is also unclean, nasty things. But people think it's normal. So many bad things are there. They've lost their culture to a large extent. At least some piety or inclination is there, but actual direction. People love, there's so many, cheating religion, what's going on in Hinduism, what's going on in the name of Hinduism. How much cheating, all this art of living and so many bogus so-called sadhus, amma. So ridiculous, so foolish. And people are so foolish, they go to these so-called gurus who don't teach anything. It's just all sentiment. Or they teach something. What is this? Art of living, how to relax, and it's got nothing to do with the goal of life. They're simply cheating people, simply personality cults. They don't teach Bhagavad-gita as it is. Who is Krishna? We have to surrender to Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Religion minus Krishna, it's nonsense. How can there be religion minus Krishna? Because religion means to understand Krishna. So everything, it's all cheating. But if you read, especially the Srimad Bhagavatam, you'll find very clearly that Srila Prabhupada, he's not a cheater, he's not flattering people, he's not speaking empty, vacuous statements, but very clearly delineates what is the science of God. Srimad Bhagavatam is Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam, as is stated in the Bhagavatam itself. Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam. It's the scientific delineation of knowledge of the personality of Godhead and our religion and our relationship with Him. Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate. By understanding which, we become actually detached from this world. So we require to understand this. What is cheating religion? Pretty much everything that goes on in the name of religion. Priti vite, jato kichu, dharma nama chale, bhagavata kahe taha paripurna chale. In Bengali it's this dharma kaitava projita atra. This is summarized that whatever is going on in the name of religion in the world, it's all chal. It's simply cheating. Deceptiveness. It's not giving the actual religion means what is the ultimate truth? What is ultimate reality? Without that, what's the meaning of religion? Religion means to come to a higher level, to come in contact with the Supreme. But come in contact with the Supreme means that we should become totally purified. But instead we're asking, give us this day our daily bread. Give us this day our daily roti. So, this is cheating religion.
Is there time for more discussion?
Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to be.
I have a feeling.
Well, okay, you can go on. There are other people with questions. Yeah,
so I would prefer other people to come out. I've already spoken.
All right, ask one more, and we'll continue this discussion for another few minutes.
I'm not arguing, or I'm not putting myself at your level. I'm a very small.
We're all small.
But
real religion begins with understanding that we're all small.
When I read Bhagavad-gita, I feel the messages are very clear and straightforward. But my feeling is that if we take that message in a very clear and straightforward manner, it's very beautiful, and you get results. But sometimes, when we start criticizing anybody else or other things on the basis of that shaloka, I'm trying to see whether, what I'm trying to do is read a shalok and see whether this shalok criticizes anybody. I have not found any shalok which criticizes anybody.
Then you haven't read Bhagavad-gita. I'll tell you a few.
Yes, you may be more knowledgeable. But then I find that we waste so much time in criticizing others.
You see, you're saying I'm more knowledgeable, but you're implying that I'm more knowledgeable, but you've actually understood. No. That's what you're implying. But actually, knowledge...
Can I finish my last word?
You can say, yeah.
Because then you can explain it better. Yeah. My feeling is that if we don't spend too much time in criticizing others or arguing that somebody is bad and just follow the message of the shlok, then it gives you, I get a lot of benefit out of it. And then that criticism is just a waste of time.
Well, then you're criticizing Lord Krishna by saying that, because Lord Krishna criticizes those who don't surrender to him.
No, I'm actually trying to find a shalok which criticizes somebody. If you can
Alright, okay. There are so many. I'll tell you from Bhagavad-gita. Lord Krishna says, Namang dushkritino mudha prapadyante naradhamaha maya prakritagyana asuram bhavamashrita. Here's one shlok, in which Lord Krishna says that people who do not surrender to me, I don't know which Bhagavad-gita you read, but this is Bhagavad-gita.
I only read this one.
Yeah, but you're reading with what you're doing, you're not hearing like Arjuna. You're bringing all your own ideas and putting it through that. But you have to hear like Arjuna, who said, Shishyaste ham shadimam tvam prapannam, that I am come as a surrendered disciple to you. You have a preconception that we shouldn't criticize, criticism of others is wrong, but no, criticism is required to sort out what is actually good from that which is not. If we say, well, don't criticize, everything is good, then Hitler's also good. Killing animals is also good. Now, in this shlok, let me tell you, Namanga, Krishna says that people who do not surrender to me, they are dushkriti, which means, you can translate it simply as rascal. Mudha, you know the word. Namang dushkriti mudha. Prapadya, Naradha. Naradha means the lowest among mankind. Maya aparita jnana means people who are superficially knowledgeable, but who are actually fools. Their actual knowledge is covered by Maya. And asuram bhavanashrita, which means, Prabhupada translates it simply as asura, demoniac mentality. And there are so many verses in which Lord Krishna says, avyaktam vyaktim apanam manyante mama buddhayaha. Those who say that I, Krishna, my personality has come from the unmanifest, such persons are abuddhayaha, which means foolish. Then, antavatu palantesham tadbhavat yalpamedasam. Again, alpamedasam, which means little intelligence. People who are stupid, in other words, they worship different demigods. Kamaistai hrita jnana. They're persons whose knowledge is spoiled. They simply out of material desires, out of karmaistai hrita jnana prapadyante, they worship different gods. They worship gods other than myself. You want more? Krishna is very critical. So if you say we shouldn't criticize and we're wasted, then you are criticizing Krishna.
But there are certain shlokas where the words are in general, like alpa buddhi,
Alpa buddhi means stupid. I mean, that's...
No, but the slok doesn't say the people are stupid. Lord says that the lack of knowledge is stupid.
No. He doesn't say, no. This is your wrong interpretation. It's not a lack of knowledge. When Krishna says, avyaktim vyaktim apanam manyante, they consider. Manyante means they consider. It's not that they don't have knowledge. They know there is an avyakta and they know there is the person Krishna. But they wrongly consider that Krishna's personality has come from the avyakta. It's not a lack of knowledge, it's misinterpretation. That is what Krishna is criticizing. And it's simply your interpretation to say that he's not. It's like so-called Mahatma Gandhi trying to screw non-violence out of Bhagavad-gita, which is nonsense, because the whole of Bhagavad-gita, Krishna is telling Arjuna to fight, and Arjuna doesn't want to fight. And Mahatma Gandhi comes along, and he's supposed to be a great Pandit of Bhagavad-gita and tries to teach non-violence on the basis of Bhagavad-gita. Now you may say, we don't want to be critical, but this is simply foolishness and nonsense. If you try to say that white is black, that is foolish. And if you try to say that Bhagavad-gita teaches non-violence, it's like saying white is black, because Bhagavad-gita was spoken specifically to incite Arjuna to be violent. So you may say, don't be critical, that's some sentiment of yours, but it has no practical value, and it's got nothing to do with Bhagavad-gita either. Because Lord Krishna is critical, but the thing is that you think critical, it hurts people, it makes people feel bad. Maybe it does, but it's for their benefit.
I'm not concerned about people.
If you tell someone who's going on the wrong path, they're going on the wrong path, that's for their benefit. So that should be pointed out. Not to point it out, that is a crime. If someone's flying a kite and they're walking towards the edge of a cliff, and you don't want to he's enjoying himself, I don't want to disturb him, then that's criminal. It's your duty. And if he says, don't disturb me, then you should grab him and push him and tell him he's a fool and somehow or other wake him up. So this idea that we don't criticize anyone, then...
No, my idea was that if we follow that method and let people have chance to read Bhagavad-gita themselves and understand it.
But they won't understand.
So they don't read because they think that some people like we are criticizing
they don't
too
understand.
much.
They may think, but if they're sincere, they will recognize that what Krishna says is true. If they're sincere.
If they get a chance to read it, I mean.
Yeah, well, we're getting by distributing these books. What's your question, Prabhu?
I had a few questions. I will probably forget them by now. The one I will not forget is who is Sita the father of. But I somehow sympathize with the Prabhu. There are at least two major points in the Gita where the Gita speaks with the Protestant work ethic. It's what you mentioned, that Arjuna is decided to fight, and presumably his job was to fight, so that would be...
Not Protestant work ethic. Anyway, go on with your question.
And there is the other point where it very clearly says that to fulfill your duty, as in the caste duty, is I don't know what the term is, but it's what is required of you.
Yeah.
And I mean, even at the point where it says that you should. There's a criticism on Hinduism where it says that
criticism
on Hinduism pretty much, on mainstream Hinduism, when if he is asked whether to do the religious duties is enough or something, and he says, well, in fact, to submit to me is the first way, and if you cannot submit to me, then be pious, and he says something like that.
Yeah. So
where does the Protestant work ethic come from? Why is it so important to...
The Protestant work ethic, the idea is that God helps those who help themselves, and Therefore, those who are rich, that means they're getting the grace of God. They would work hard and believe in God, and God will help you to be rich. So that's not the message of Bhagavad-gita. That one should, Bhagavad-gita is about work. It's about action. And there are different levels on which Krishna speaks. The karmanye vadikara stay, that's there. One has a right to work, but one shouldn't be attached to the result. And as Lord Krishna speaks, that everyone has to do some work. You can't stop working. And swabhav, or the inherited nature, or the nature that one has inherited from previous lives, that is also very strong. So one has to work according to his swabhav. But then ultimately, Krishna says, Savadhamam parittajamamekam sharanam vraja. He doesn't say to stop work, but he says to give up. This is actually explained by Srimad Bhagavatam and ultimately by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that I am not a Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasi, but I am a servant of Krishna, who is a servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. But then you see that even Arjuna, after taking that instruction from Krishna, he acted as a Kshatriya. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu acted as a sannyasi. Actually, I don't have time now, but I have an essay, lecture planned for a few days from now, in which I want to discuss this in more detail. What does it mean when Krishna says Sarvadhamma Parityajam, and then Arjuna apparently acts as a Kshatriya? Well, Arjuna acts as a Kshatriya under Krishna's direction. Now there's one incident in the Mahabharata in which we find that everyone sympathizes with Karna. When he's down on the ground, his wheel is stuck in the mud, and Krishna tells Arjuna, kill him. And people, they tend to sympathize with Karna. And Arjuna didn't, and which is against the codes of a Kshatriya. He did it on Krishna's order. That is his surrender to Krishna. Yudhishthira Maharaj, it's famous that his chariot would ride above the earth due to his piety. Then Krishna wanted him to shout out that Ashvatthama is killed. If Krishna says no one will believe him, Jonah won't believe him. You know this story, right? So he had Yudhishthira Maharaj say it. And they made some arrangement with blowing the conch so he doesn't say the elephant Ashvatthama is killed. And then after that incident, Yudhishthira Maharaj's chariot came down. Now it's generally understood by people who don't understand actually what is going on, that Yudhishthira Maharaj's chariot came down because he told a lie. But actually it came down because he hesitated. He was not happy to follow Krishna's instruction. Because real piety is to follow what Krishna says, even at the expense of your own good name or your own so-called morality. The gopis are famous as the greatest of devotees. Superficially, they totally transgressed dharma. Because superficially they were the wives of other men. But they left everything to go to Krishna. So, actual dharma means to surrender, to do whatever Krishna wants under any circumstance. Although, because the varnashram system is the system given by Krishna to live in this world, it is the most suitable even for devotees to act according to those rules, and even for non-devotees to regulate their lives, to gradually make them pious and come to that level. So there are various levels spoken of in Bhagavad-gita, but the actual message of Bhagavad-gita, that which is meant for Arjuna and for all of those who want to follow Arjuna's footsteps and achieve the ultimate goal of life, is to fully surrender to Krishna, to do what Krishna wants, which might transgress the rules of Dharma, because as Lord Krishna explains in Mahabharata, life is so complex that you can't always follow the laws of dharma. One rule will contradict another. Because life is complex like that. The Lord Krishna told the story of one brahmana who made a vow never to tell a lie, which is a very good vow, isn't it? But then he was living at the edge of a village and next to the forest when one day a man came running up saying that I'm a merchant, I'm carrying so much gold and the robbers are chasing me, they want to kill me. Where can I hide? And the Brahmin pointed, go hide in the woods then. A few minutes later, men came running up and said, we are robbers, we're chasing a rich merchant, we want to kill him. Did you see where he went? He said, yeah, he's over there. They went there and killed him. So he never told a lie in his life, and at the end of life he went to heaven. Because in that situation, the dharma of keeping his vow, the dharma of not lying, was overridden by the dharma of giving protection to a deserving person. But he didn't understand that. He didn't properly understand dharma, and therefore he went to hell. Even though he kept his vow and he never told a lie. So dharma is sukshma, it's very fine.
I'm glad you're saying this because the essence of religion is usually in the exceptions rather in the rules that are applied. But I also wanted to ask you about the danger of actually being so critical, because in the literature on Srila Prabhupada, sometimes you read that his followers were not very well accepted in India. And you expressed some opinions before, which I share with you, and I'm very, very critical and not very kind towards mainstream.
There are dangers in being overly critical, and there are dangers in not being critical enough also. If we're overly critical means that the criticism is meant for showing what is the actual path. If we only criticize and don't come to the actual path, then what's the use? But if we're not critical enough, then we also don't see the path properly. We should see. Intelligence means to discriminate. There is right and there is wrong. There is a difference between truth and non-truth. It's the Mayavad which is so all-pervading, in which the difference between right and wrong, the difference between truth and non-truth is obfuscated. And so people say don't criticize because everything's good and everything's nice, and we just presume that everyone is basically good, which isn't true. If you live in this world thinking that everyone's nice and everyone's good, you're going to get cheated and exploited like anything. It's not even a practical outlook. So some criticism is needed, and considering the enormous cheating that's going on in the name of religion, some good level of criticism is required also. People come up and they tell them this is God. He's not God. He's just some guy with a long beard. He's cheating people. Or he says he's teaching Bhagavad-gita, but he's not teaching surrender to Krishna. He's cheating people. He's taking that which is most sacred and giving the idea that he's giving that which is the highest and the most valuable and the most sacred, and he's not. He's doing something for his own aggrandizement to promote himself instead of promoting Krishna. This is seriously wrong. Hitler is severely criticized, and he should be. Nazism, they're neo-Nazis, and they're trying to keep that down because it's dangerous, it's a threat to society. So also these so-called religionists who use Bhagavad-gita to cheat others, they're a threat to society, they're misleading people. The valuable human form of life which should be used for God realization, they're cheating people and misleading people. This should be made known. If we just say, well, everyone's nice, then we're also cheating in the name of not criticizing, because everyone's not nice. Ultimately, everyone is nice in as much as everyone's a servant of Krishna. But as much as we adopt a different attitude, then we are the enemies of ourselves and others. That should be understood. Without understanding that, how can we come to the point of Krishna consciousness? If we think that someone who's cheating is also nice and it's also good, and it's the same as not surrendering to Krishna and following something which is just some imaginary so-called religion, and actual surrender to Krishna, it's all the same. If we say that, then it's not true. Then we're promoting falsity, then we're cheating. So this should be pointed out. Is it not? Is it not beneficial for human society? But in modern society, there's this idea: don't criticize everyone. Everything's nice. Just let everyone do whatever they like, as long as it doesn't harm others. Isn't it said? And what they say by harm others mean they can only think of physical harm, but they're doing spiritual harm, which is much worse. If you slap someone in the face, that's harmful. If you teach them the wrong path in the name of spiritual life, they have to suffer birth after birth after birth by not taking to Krishna consciousness. So if someone on the street walks up to you and slaps you in the face, they can be arrested and punished for that. But if they walk up to you and say, I'm God, and they mislead you, then that's acceptable. Because the whole society is ignorant. In Parikshit Maharaj's kingdom, that could not be allowed. With all these so-called babas and papas and cheetah and all so-called, so many things. Not only religion, but in the name of sociology, psychology, medicine, and history, geography, all fields, they're simply misleading and cheating. Everything going on in the name of education is simply all cheating. Even the concept of education, that you work, you study, you get some piece of paper, you get a job, and then you earn some money, and then you buy things, and the whole thing is just totally mundane. It works against the purpose of life. So the whole thing from top to bottom is cheating. It should be pointed out, isn't it? It's just simply by then we become like these so-called gurus. They have a long beard and they smile and they hold a flower and everyone thinks they're very nice, but they're not nice. And if we fail to point out what is the fact, then we're, in the name of being nice, we're actually cheating others. If the parents don't discipline the children, then it might seem, well, they're very good parents, but they're not. They're very bad parents. That's Scandinavian culture, isn't it? No discipline for the children.
Hey, I had one good experience. I once brought 10 books of Hare Krishna, and then I go out in the train and give them to the young people, and even the police. But they nearly arrest me because they say I couldn't do things like that. But I don't think that they get any goals out of what I was doing, but it was a good pleasure talking
to
about
distribute
those.
the books.
Yes, just give them the books so you don't have to pay it. It's a knowledge.
The police didn't like that.
No, the police nearly arrest me because
Really?
Yes.
Was it here?
Then I insisted that they should just give it one chance.
Was it here in Copenhagen?
Yes.
It's not allowed in the trains.
Oh, I see.
So I have done something for Hare Krishna.
Good.
Haven't I?
Do more. Sach bole to mare lak. Jhoot jagate mohai. If you speak the truth, they'll beat you with sticks. If you tell lies, everyone will think very nice. Isn't it? All the advertisement industry is all lies. And people know, very nice. The whole advertisement industry runs on it's based on the understanding that people are stupid. If you show just like Coca-Cola, no one, if it wasn't advertised, no one would ever buy it. Because why should you? It's just, what is it? Why spend money? But only because it's advertised. It's associated with some kind of pleasure, and therefore people buy it. The whole advertising industry simply runs on foolishness. Now, in modern society, people are raised in such a way that they become foolish. It's required. To be a consumer, you have to be a fool. Buy all kinds of things that you don't need. So, highly educated fools. So, anything else? Or everyone has to go home, or what's going on? It's supposed to be 8 o'clock finished. I can go longer. Yeah, please.
Yes, Prabhu, what I read in Bhagavad-gita was like, Krishna says, out of every 1,000 people, one tries to know me. And out of them, even only one actually knows me in truth.
Very few know Krishna in truth, yeah.
So, by criticizing in a place like this where almost every person...
Yeah, it's again, in Denmark you can do anything but don't criticize.
What I'm saying is like, criticizing in front of us won't make a new devotee.
It might make you more clear. It might make you help you to understand that Krishna is critical, for instance. Just like, for instance, this gentleman was under the misconception that Krishna doesn't criticize him, or there's no criticism in Bhagavad-gita. But I pointed out that he made a mistake. So, that's true, new devotees may not come here. But those who are, like I said, it's meant for some guidance and some instruction. If you want to, I wrote a long essay on this actually, on the need to speak strongly. So if you're interested in this, you can get, it's in that book, My Memories of Srila Prabhupada, in which I present it if you're interested. Quite a long essay on why speaking strongly is required. But if you are more attached to your own conceptions of what is right and wrong than what Krishna actually teaches in Bhagavad-gita, then you may not even, this is presented to you with all evidence from Shastra, then you may not accept it, because you're not accepted. You have to accept Bhagavad-gita as Arjuna accepted it. He said to Krishna, Sarvam etad ritam manye yanmam vadasi keshava. I accept everything you say, Krishna. So if we simply want to accept that I like when Krishna says that he protects his devotees, but I don't like when he criticizes non-devotees, then we're not accepting as Arjuna accepted. And how to understand Bhagavad-gita? What I was saying is we bring our own preconceptions that of what we think is nice and what isn't nice. And that way we can't understand Bhagavad-gita. And that way we can't actually take to Krishna consciousness at all. Because we have our own idea of what we think it should be like instead of taking Krishna's idea. Krishna consciousness means to put Krishna in the center. Not our own idea of, we don't redesign Krishna and make it, we can't, there's this other bogus idea, oops, I criticized again, coming from Mayavad, that you just imagine God however you like, but it's not like that. We are His imagination, He is not our imagination. We are to act as He says. So when Krishna speaks Bhagavad-gita, the whole point is that Arjuna has to stop giving up his own way of thinking and accept Krishna's way of thinking. With his intelligence, not unintelligently, but to understand that what Krishna says is actually correct. And what Arjuna thought was right, his morality, was actually wrong. His supposed morality and goodness was actually wrong because it's based on a misconception. So in modern society we have all this idea of be nice to others and be good, but what being good? By not teaching Krishna consciousness, everyone is perpetrating the worst violence on everyone else.
But we can teach without being critical.
Can you? One who doesn't surrender to Krishna, Lord Krishna says, is a rascal. So how are you going to teach Bhagavad-gita if you don't teach that? Are you going to edit that out of Bhagavad-gita? You have a better idea than Krishna? And what's wrong with being critical anyway? What's your hang-up about it?
Because life is very short. So if you spend 60% of your lifetime criticizing others, you're left with only 40%.
But that, again, the criticism is required to understand, to separate the what is right from what is wrong. You can't understand what is right unless it becomes clearly in focus if you see what is wrong also. And again, Krishna himself teaches like this. So you have a better method of teaching than Krishna?
I've been trying to find out. I've not been able to find
I told you.
criticism.
I'm sorry. What shall I say? I mean, shall I open? Alright, look, I'll open the book. You can read for yourself.
No, I'll get my book because I'm making notes and then we can sit and discuss shalok by shalok. Sometimes in life. I have to get my book.
It's the same book.
Okay, please read this. This is Bhagavad-gita. Can you see what's written there? What is the name of the book? What is it?
Yeah.
What is it? It's Bhagavad-gita, isn't it? You please read this verse. Just read the translation.
No, I'll just note the shalok
No,
and
read
read
it
it at home.
Read it out for us so that we can all hear from your mouth. Now, please don't change the page.
No,
just read the same verse.
The shalok is this, no? I want to read shalok.
7:14.
Yeah, 14.
Those who are grossly foolish.
Devi.
No, sorry, 7:15.
Then here.
Yeah.
Namam drishkritino mudaha prapadyante naradhama mayaya paharet jnana asuram bhav mashrita.
Okay, translation.
Not mam unto me dushkrita miscreants muda foolish Parpadyate surrender Nara Adhamaha lowest among mankind Maya by the illusionary energy Apartha stolen Janaha whose knowledge Asuram demonic Bhavam nature Asritaha accepted. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheist nature of demons, do not surrender unto me.
Okay. Thank you very much. Well, if this was a court case, you would have just lost it. Because this is the evidence, this is pramana, that Krishna speaks that people are grossly foolish, lowest among mankind, and what you would call critical. So either you can accept what Krishna says, or you don't have to. It's up to you. Then you become one of these people mentioned here.
But
you'll become very moral and
reading
go to
this
hell.
slope, Krishna says foolish people do not surrender to me, but he is not saying you are foolish or there is somebody over there foolish.
Then
that's the difference.
Who is he speaking of then?
He is speaking in general.
And if you don't mind, what you're saying is foolish. He says those who are grossly foolish. He's referring to someone.
Yes, but he is not blaming someone.
He's blaming all of those who do not surrender to him.
That's right.
That's right. Thank you very much. All right.
Yeah, but if you have to teach other people, you have to tell them it's wrong the way you live. Else they just go on and, we are good, we are materialistic, we have everything. You have to say, it is not the right way. If you want to know God, you have to read this book. And be sincere.
All right. Anything? All right.
I would like to ask how did the jivas find out in the material world? How did they fallen from the spiritual?
That's another of my upcoming lectures.
Krishna.
I'll have to send you the recording. It's not something, well, we can say briefly, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Krishna bhuli se jivan adi vahinokate mayatare deyat samsharatu. Briefly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that forgetting Krishna, the jiva has been, Krishna bhuli se jiva, inimical toward Krishna since time immemorial, and therefore Maya gives him suffering. That's in brief. Forgetting Krishna, forgetfulness of Krishna is the cause of conditional life.
But how we could forget Krishna?
Yeah, that's the question. Alright, I'm planning to give a long lecture on that. Long means an hour or so, but not now. So if you want, you can see my website. I suppose it'll be uploaded there eventually. It's not a 2-minute discussion. Yeah.
So what if if a person wants to surrender to Krishna, and he has to be in the right sampradaya and take initiation as one of the things, maybe, then what does that mean? What does that demand from you?
What does it demand from you to take initiation?
Yeah, the initiation.
Exactly what you were saying, surrender. Diksha kale bhakta kare atma samarpan. Diksha means atma samarpan, surrender. Dedicating one's life.
And what if you only want to surrender 70 or something %?
Then don't take diksha.
What if it's 99%?
No, one should take diksha when he understands that the goal of life is to surrender to Krishna, and he's ready to dedicate himself to that. He's not there, but that is his goal. He requires further training, but that is the goal. Yeah.
What does the society, Krishna conscious society, deal with persons who doesn't have that desire enough, maybe, like who's in the process?
Well, we try to cultivate that desire. Try to inculcate.